When's shit gonna happen? When's it gonna get good? Like that kid in The Princess Bride. When's it gonna get good? Hello world, and welcome to my channel, where I think out loud, talk about books, and even, on occasion, stir the pot. In today's video, I would like to talk about Stephenie Meyer's book Twilight, and whether or not it was a good thing for the world. My answer might surprise you. Before I get into the content of today's video, if you would like to support my channel, please remember to like this video, share it, subscribe to my channel, and ring that bell. And by the way, if you're looking for a new book to read, and you happen to enjoy paranormal romance, you might enjoy the video that I just released, where I comb through Amazon's newest release section, and I select the top 10 best and the top 10 worst opening lines every month. It's fun, it's snarky, it helps support indie authors, and most importantly, it's going to give you a good book to read. Check out this video in the description below. Alright, enough preamble. Let's talk Twilight. Twilight shook up the world when it hit the shelves in November of 2008. Stephenie Meyer, a stay-at-home mom who had never before published a book, found herself living nearly every author's dream. She was that magical unicorn who got to hammer out the book of her heart, unleash it upon the world, and then just got to sit back and relax and enjoy the waves of cash crashing into her bank account. Yet looking back on her experience, she claims that the world of Twilight is no longer a happy place for her to be. Why? Well, I don't think it's a mystery to anyone watching this video that Twilight, despite its initial warm reception, initiated an equally scalding backlash. Droves of people took to the internet to rip Twilight apart from every conceivable angle, as well as the author herself. She became one of the most hated public figures of the late aughts and beyond, all for the crime of writing an imperfect book that had the audacity to take off. And as much as I don't want to admit it now, I was among those teens and young adults who trash-talked Twilight. I regret ridiculing Twilight as much as I did. Now, I'm not saying that Twilight doesn't have issues as a work of literature, because it absolutely does. I remember feeling very bored as I read it. I was very frustrated with how long it took to finally encounter the plot. I felt very like, okay, so when's shit gonna happen? When's it gonna get good? Like that kid in The Princess Bride. When's it gonna get good? And it didn't get good. It killed my father with its six-figured hand. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But the point is, when I read Twilight, I was let down by it for a multitude of developmental reasons as well as stylistic reasons. Then, of course, there was Edward's creepy behavior and Bella's Mary Sue-iness. There's plenty to be critiqued about Twilight. And that is fine. We have the right to do that. But one element of the Stephenie Meyer hate frenzy that really stood out to me is that Stephenie Meyer didn't really do anything wrong. She wrote a book. This book wasn't everybody's cup of tea, yet she encountered more vitriol than an animal abuser like Michael Vick. And as someone who was a freshly turned adult, I became absolutely petrified of the idea of releasing a bad book. Stephenie Meyer played a pivotal role in highlighting a grave misconception I had taken on board as a young adult who was certain that publishing my fiction was absolutely the course for my life. And that is the idea that if you happen to publish a bad book, you're committing a moral wrong somehow. That by writing a book that doesn't really have any particularly grandiose aspirations, you're somehow harming the world. I feel that this is a toxic mindset. Writing is an essential skill, not just because it is useful, but because it is an essential means by which we organize our ideas. Pardon me for paraphrasing the great Jordan B. Peterson once more, but when you teach someone how to write, you're teaching them how to think. Personally, I want as many people in the world to be able to think as possible. I want us all to be able to live up to our greatest cognitive potentials, so that way we can figure out a way to keep up with the technology that we've created, which is steadily outpacing us, and not accidentally destroy ourselves. Which means that we should be encouraging as many people to write as possible. Because the more people who can write, the more people can communicate their ideas effectively. And the more people who can communicate their ideas effectively, the better we can make shit happen that's actually good for the world. If you have a book in your heart, by all means, try to write it. Because even if your book sucks, even if it doesn't sell, at least your own mind was made better for it somehow. I feel like that's the most we could hope for in terms of improving the world. That's the best thing we could contribute. Regardless of whether or not I enjoyed Twilight as a piece of literature, which, like I said, it wasn't my cup of tea, I am very thankful to Stephenie Meyer because she gave me a lot of hope. I mean, how many people out there first got their courage because they read Stephenie Meyer's book Twilight and they were like, you know what, I could absolutely write a better book than this. Like, this got published, right? This shit right here. I bet I could one-up it. I bet I could do better. Incidentally, this was how James Fenimore Cooper's book The Last of the Mohicans was written. When he was reading a novel that was so terrible, he exclaimed to his wife, I can absolutely write a better book than this. This is garbage. And she's like, okay, do it. And he's like, okay, well. And he did. He really freaking did. You never know how a great piece is going to come into existence, okay? In addition to helping many writers find their courage, Stephenie Meyer also put young adult paranormal romance on the map. She made way for a renaissance of new subgenres to emerge within this category. And, happily, since she claimed that her books were based off of Jane Austen's books, many of her fans went to go and read those books as well. So, at least, the classics got a little bit of attention. I don't think she did something wrong by publishing books that happened to get famous and earn her a lot of money. I don't think there's a crime in being successful. One dichotomy that Stephenie Meyer's success really highlighted for me within my own life and in the writer circles that I had surrounded myself with at that time was the amount of disdain that some of the writers I had surrounded myself with treated authors who actually managed to find success in their career. It was seen as like a breach of artistic integrity in order to be able to sell your work. The more successful you were, the more evidence this was that you were a total sellout who didn't have any creativity whatsoever. In my opinion, overall, I think Stephenie Meyer's book Twilight, and perhaps even the series that followed it, were probably a force of good for the world, despite the fact that her books contained themes that many people might find troublesome. At least these books helped people find their courage to publish, and they gave rise to many different subgenres within the paranormal romance category, which, as an author in that category, I'm very thankful for. What did you think about Twilight? If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like it, comment below, subscribe to my channel, and ring that bell. I post new videos about once a week about paranormal romance books, popular culture topics, about whatever I want, really. What would you like me to talk about? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. Thank you.